Here's Audrey Hepburn on the set of the 1967 film Two for the Road, playing a game of beach cricket between takes. She starred opposite Albert Finney in the movie, which was known for its experimental, non-linear narrative about a couple's marriage. A group of formally dressed men and women crossed the original Capilano Suspension Bridge near Vancouver in 1905. The first bridge, built in 1889, was constructed from hemp rope and cedar planks, stretching 450 feet across the canyon. Fleetwood Mac is seen here during the 1976 recording sessions for their album Rumors in Sausalito, California. The album's creation was famously fueled by the romantic breakups and internal turmoil between all 5 band members. This peaceful scene in Afghanistan was captured around 1950, more than 2 decades before the Soviet invasion would forever change the country. Life in the villages continued much as it had for centuries, largely untouched by the outside world. An Italian-designed Isetta microcar is seen here loading into a custom trailer in the mid-1950s. BMW licensed the design for this bubble car after WW2, and its surprising sales success saved the company from bankruptcy. First-class passengers on the Titanic could use this state-of-the-art gymnasium, which featured an electric horse and camel. The equipment, along with the rest of the ship, now lies at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. French singer and style icon Françoise Hardy poses on a Honda CB750 motorcycle around 1970. The bike itself was a landmark, considered by many to be the very first superbike due to its performance and 4-cylinder engine. At a London zoo in the 1970s, a chimpanzee named Charlie gently bottle feeds a leopard cub. The unlikely pairing became a popular attraction, showing a tender moment between 2 very different species. A McDonald's employee works the register in the early 1980s, when a Big Mac would have set you back about $1.60. The uniforms and cash registers from that era are a sharp contrast to the digital displays of today. 2 men enjoy a day of ice fishing from the comfort of their late 1940s Chrysler sedan in Michigan, 1955. Using a car as a mobile ice shanty was a common practice for hardy Midwestern fishermen. A very young Prince Charles looks thoroughly bored while flanked by the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret. The photo was taken during the lengthy coronation ceremony for his own mother, Queen Elizabeth II, in 1953. A yellow Kay Halbert TV bus is parked on a Los Angeles street in the early 1950s. Kay Halbert was an early television manufacturer, and its local bus ads were part of the post-war boom in California. Linda Carter appears in a special white costume for a 1977 episode of the TV series Wonder Woman. Her popular portrayal of the hero made the show a massive hit and a defining part of 70s pop culture. Actress Charlotte Rampling was photographed here in 1976, shortly after she gained international notice for her intense film roles. She developed a reputation for taking on daring and complex characters that other actresses might have avoided. Joseph Stalin sits for a portrait inside the Kremlin in April 1932, taken by American photographer James Abbey. While he sat calmly for the photo, his policies of collectivization were causing a devastating famine across the Soviet Union. A woman rides a Lambretta scooter near Central Park in 1969, with a classic Buick Electra convertible in the background. These Italian motor scooters became a symbol of youthful freedom and style in cities full of American muscle. A young Franklin D. Roosevelt stands outside the Treasury building around 1913, long before he became president. This photo was taken a full 8 years before a polio diagnosis would permanently change his life and public image. That towering figure in the 1989 Cole High School basketball photo is indeed a young Shaquille O'Neal. He led the team to a 68-1 record over 2 years and a state championship, a clear sign of the dominance to come. Actress Ava Gardner poses for a publicity shot in the early 1950s, during the peak of her fame. Around this time, her turbulent marriage to Frank Sinatra was constant front-page news for the gossip columns. In a now famous Oval Office meeting from December 1970, Elvis Presley met with President Richard Nixon. The singer had initiated the meeting in the hopes of being made a federal agent at large to help combat the drug culture. This beach scene from the early 1970s shows a typical weekend outing in pre-revolution Iran. Such relaxed public gatherings would become a thing of the past after the Islamic Revolution of 1979. A street porter in Kuwait skillfully balances a sewing machine on his head in 1955. This image captures a slice of daily life just as the country was beginning to be transformed by its massive oil wealth. Times Square in 1956 was a chaotic canyon of advertisements, with huge signs for Admiral televisions and Pepsi-Cola dominating the view. The streets are packed with classic cars from Ford, GM, and Chrysler, showing off the height of post-war American manufacturing. During a German air raid in July 1941, photographer Margaret Bork-White captured this stunning image of the Moscow Kremlin. She was the only foreign photographer present when the bombing of the Soviet capital began. Hundreds of female students filled the pews of the Wallinska School in Sweden in 1908. The institution was one of the very first in the country to offer girls the same level of advanced academic education as boys. Pioneering aviator Amelia Earhart prepares for a deep-sea walk off the coast of Block Island in 1929. The expedition was for a scientific study of the ocean floor, showing another side of her adventurous spirit. Reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein watch President Nixon's first televised address on Watergate in 1973. The two young journalists were watching the public fallout from a story they had broken in the Washington Post. In February 1944, a 17-year-old Princess Elizabeth inspects the crew of a Royal Air Force Lancaster bomber. Her tours of military bases were a crucial part of the royal family's efforts to boost morale during the war. A 27-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger poses on a Melbourne street in 1974, while in Australia, for a bodybuilding exhibition. His physique was so unlike anything most people had seen, it literally stopped traffic and drew crowds wherever he went. A family looks over a new lineup of 1957 Chrysler cars, famous for their huge tail fins. Automakers in the 50s changed designs yearly, and the size and shape of a car's fins was a major selling point. An American soldier in Vietnam in 1968 keeps photos of his sweetheart tucked into his helmet band. This was a common practice for GIs, using the elastic band to carry a personal reminder of home into combat. Passengers enjoy a meal in the dining car of an American passenger train around 1940, the golden age of rail travel. Railroads like the Santa Fe and Union Pacific were famous for their high-class, white tablecloth restaurant service on the move. A young Dolly Parton stands with her husband, Carl Dean, not long after they were married in 1966. Dean has famously avoided the spotlight his entire life, remaining a private figure despite his wife's half-century of superstardom. A diver works with the 55-foot, 10-ton scale model of the Titanic, built for the 1980 movie Raise the Titanic. The massive prop was one of the most expensive and complex ever created for a film at the time. Actress Winona Ryder is pictured here in the 1990s, when she was one of the decade's most prominent young stars. Her roles in films like Reality Bites and Girl Interrupted made her an icon for the Generation X audience. At a 1957 Hollywood party, Sophia Loren gives a famous sidelong glance as Jane Mansfield takes a seat next to her. Loren later said she was genuinely worried Mansfield's dress might suffer a catastrophic wardrobe malfunction at the table. An actor in a Cyberman costume from the TV show Doctor Who takes a cigarette break during filming in the 1980s. The sight of the futuristic monster doing something so mundane highlights the strange reality behind television magic. Paul McCartney sings to a packed house in Houston, Texas, on August 19, 1965, during the Beatles' second major U.S. tour. The band played 2 shows that day at the Sam Houston Coliseum to a combined audience of over 20,000 screaming fans. Then Vice President Richard Nixon and his wife Pat attend Ghana's Independence Day celebrations in March 1957. At the time, Nixon was considered the Republican Party's leading voice on civil rights and desegregation. Chefs in a sanatorium kitchen in the Soviet Union conduct a drill while wearing full gas masks in the 1930s. The exercise was part of a nationwide preparedness program, reflecting the intense paranoia of the Stalinist era. New York City showers the returning Apollo 11 astronauts with a massive ticker tape parade on August 13, 1969. The celebration took place only after the crew had completed a mandatory 3-week quarantine to prevent any potential moon germs. Italian actress Claudia Cardinale casually poses with a cheetah at a public event in the 1960s. Owning exotic cats as pets was a popular and glamorous trend among European celebrities during that era. The Beach Boys pose with a surfboard for a classic publicity shot in the early 1960s. Despite their image, only one member of the band, Dennis Wilson, was an actual surfer. French actress Brigitte Bardot relaxes on a boat in Saint-Tropez during the 1960s. Her decision to live in the quiet fishing village turned it into one of the most famous and glamorous resort towns in the world. In 1987, engineers in Romania moved this entire 7,600-ton apartment building to create a new boulevard. The building was split in two and slid to its new location on rails over a period of 6 hours. Scottish soldiers of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders rest in a trench with their regimental mascot during World War I. These men still went into battle wearing traditional kilts, a practice that was largely phased out as the war progressed. A worker operates a bottling machine at the Heinz factory in Pittsburgh around 1897, when ketchup was becoming an American staple. Her floor-length dress and the steam-powered machinery show a world of manual labor before modern automation. A young Audrey Hepburn practices at the ballet barre, a skill she used to secretly raise money for the Dutch resistance during Dobbeltoet. She performed at underground concerts where audiences didn't applaud to avoid alerting the Nazi occupiers. Actors Bill Paxton, Liam Neeson, and Patrick Swayze are seen here behind the scenes of the 1989 movie Next of Kin. The film cast the three popular stars as Appalachian brothers seeking revenge on the mob in Chicago. This surprisingly modern-looking faucet is an actual Roman water valve, buried for nearly 2,000 years under the ash of Pompeii. The discovery of such advanced devices proved that wealthy Romans enjoyed sophisticated running water systems in their homes.